and welcome to a basic belly dancing tutorial. Today we are going to discuss chest lifts. If you're not familiar with basic belly dancing posture, please refer to that video before starting this one. It's very important to address that and make sure that as you start studying this dance form, you are familiar with that fundamental aspect. But if you're already familiar with that and are here to learn about chest lifts, let's get going. Basic belly dancing chest lifts. There are a lot of different variations in a chest lift movement, and it's something that you can go about in many different ways. Today we're just going to be talking about one kind of chest lift, and this particular tutorial is going to focus on a chest lift where we're going to actually use the idea of zipping up our rib cage and using our front upper abdominal muscles to lift the chest. I'm going to demonstrate it really quick and then I'm going to break it down for you. So with this chest lift, it's just going to look like this. Okay, make sure that you're nice and grounded, that your knees are bent, your toes are pointed forward, and that your pelvis is lifted. And then when we move into the upper abdomen, I like to use the analogy that you're trying to put on a pair of blue jeans that are just a little bit too small for you and you're kind of struggling to get the zipper up. So in order for you to get the zipper up on these tight pants, you suck everything in, you know, you're kind of just pulling everything in and trying to lift like that, you know, just to get the zipper going. We're going to be pulling everything in and then lifting up through our rib cage and then contracting and engaging particularly the upper abdomen. So roll those shoulders back, and then what we're going to do is we're going to pull everything in and up, and then we're going to drop. And when you drop, you can use the analogy of unzipping those really uncomfortable tight jeans so that when you're pulling everything up, you just relax and you're like, oh, yay, I can breathe again, right? Sometimes when people do chest lifts, they tend to expand their rib cage muscle. It comes out, if you notice that expansion going on right now. Sometimes people will use a rib cage expansion to lift their chest. Looks like this. It's just another way. Feel free to use which technique you tend to like the best. I always say that you should be able to do both, and it's just good to have both of those movements and styles or variations in your vocabulary of dance. But I kind of like to focus on just pulling everything in and then pulling everything up. That's my personal preference. Both ways are acceptable, and both ways, if you're doing them correctly, they're not going to create any injuries on your body. So let's just practice this rib cage lift a few times, and we're just going to go up, down, zip up, zip down, zip up, zip down, zip up, zip down, zip up, zip down. Beautiful. Just a couple of notes when you're doing this particular movement. Make sure that you're really keeping everything in your upper abdomen very isolated and that you're keeping your lower body very still. You just want to have your knees bent and your toes pointed forward, and of course your pelvis, your pelvis tucked. And then all of the isolation and the movement is going to be all in the upper area, while everything else is nice and still. So the isolation comes from here. Release. Isolate, release.